this Q&A bit series that I've been doing on my Instagram for quite a while now, and it's called Truth Telling Tuesday. I just let people basically ask me questions about anything, and yeah, it's like a great way for people to get to know me, and I've loved doing it. However, it's gotten to the point where there's like so much this sounds so conceited for me to say. I'm getting way too many comments. I'm getting way too many questions for me to like be able to answer them accurately. And I only have like a minute tops to answer a question. And people ask me like really in-depth questions. I want to be able to go a little bit deeper with them. Um, and so my goal is to just be able to be here, and then people can ask me, I guess, more questions they didn't get a chance to ask me on my Instagram. And my question box is up right now. But basically, yeah. I'm gonna just get right into it, and then let me plug my phone in. And then the video will be up on YouTube for anybody that missed it. But yeah, I just wanted to try this out and see how I like it. I've been doing it on my Instagram stories for like 2 years now, and I think that this is kind of like the next progressive step that I can take, is making a little bit more long form and a little bit more interactive. So, okay. I also do kind of weed through these because a lot of them are like marriage proposals and people being like, you're the most beautiful woman in the world. Just to double check, I want to make sure that you guys can hear me okay. And yeah. You feel like you're chatting too much? Why? For why? That's the whole point. We're having a conversation. What book? We have been going through Solo Leveling, volume, I think it's 6. We're halfway through. I typically do like 1 chapter per stream, and 1 chapter is like 30 pages, but we've been going strong on this one, and it's awesome. And I'm loving it so much. Twin. All right. I've got the Twitch chat open. I'm just going to go start hammering away at these questions really quick. Okay, the first question, do you have CoStar app, and do you use any astrology apps? I do not have CoStar, and I don't really like CoStar either. Oh, this is so different to like answer these questions live, and I don't have any sort of like buffer or reaction like on my Instagram when I'm answering these. If I'm just posting a story, if I say the wrong thing or if I, am stuttering, I can just delete it and retry. So this is just such a different format for me. So it's going to take a little bit of getting used to for me too. Anyway, in terms of like CoStar, I don't think it's a good measure of like astrology of an astrology app. It's not really that informative, and I don't think it's good for like education. I think CoStar is used more as like a social astrology app. So it's like, you can add your friends and you can have other people on there where you can see their chart, but also the way that the chart is set up and laid out. I hate that. I don't like how it doesn't show you a broad picture. When you look at a natal chart, it's like a round map of the sky with like the earth in the center basically. And like, what were the alignments above you and what were the alignments below you when you were born? Like, that's what a natal chart is. And when you look at a chart like on CoStar where it's like blocked off and you have like empty boxes and it doesn't show you, different houses that you might have that are empty. And I just don't like the layout of it at all. Anything that I use like websites like astro-seek.com or astro.com. Both of those are not only going to like give you a full chart and explanation, but like it goes into depth of what each position means, what each position means, and what are the aspects meaning in regards to each other. So it's like, it's a lot more educational. I think it's a way easier to understand and grasp what things actually mean instead of just being like, oh, well, your sun is in Scorpio and so you're so mysterious. Like, do you know what I'm saying? I think that that's just like the better way to go about it. Next question is good skiing in Colorado. I have been to a couple places in Colorado in the last like 2 months, and I think like the best place that we've been that has like consistent snow and like pretty much every run open would be Keystone in Colorado. I think that one has been pretty user friendly too. Like, it's free parking. We went to Breckenridge and I think paid like $30 just to park, just to go snowboard. And so they have their their snowmaking machines like going crazy every time that I've been out there. Like they are on full blast all over. And it's like you're on the lift going up and it's just like blowing you in the face. And it's already cold and windy up on the lift. And so it's just like you're like ducking, covering to try and hide, but like you can't even complain because it's like at least they have good snow. Do you know what I'm saying? All right. Hold on, I'm gonna check my chat. Camera looks like it's 2008 quality. Oh, let's see if we can do something about it. Kind of brighten it up over here. Hoping that this will help maybe a little. Oh, I was like, why my keyboard no work? Because I used that to charge my phone for a second. Whoa. I don't want it that big. Alrighty. This actually helps me read a little bit more too. Hey, thank you for the gift. Alrighty, we're gonna keep going. What was it like? Hold on. What was it like when you found out you were having a kid? Terrifying. I don't think that I had like a normal experience where people are like, you know, ready to have children and they're trying for a baby and then they get pregnant and they're so excited. That was not my experience. I was a teenager and I was 19 and it was something I wasn't expecting. I was actively trying to not have a child. I was on birth control and like I had all of these kind of things in place and like I wasn't wanting to really be a mother at that time. I was just trying to figure out my life. I was a kid and I did not know that I was pregnant going to the doctor. I started having these like horrible stomach pains. Like I thought my appendix ruptured because it hurt so bad. And I went in, I told him like, you know, I think that something's wrong. You know, my family has a history of like gallbladder issues. It could be that, but I'm having this like constant, like sharp, excruciating pain in my stomach. And they were like, okay, well, before we do any sort of like ultrasound, we're going to run labs and we're just going to do a blood test and a urine sample really quick and rule out anything else. And I think the doctor came back within like a few minutes. She was like, we should have, you know, some sort of results and things like that in like 15 minutes to 30 minutes. She was back in like under 5 minutes. And it wasn't even her. It was, you know, I think it might have been her, but there were voices outside of the doctor's office that I was in. And I could hear one of the nurses being like, do you think she's going to keep it? And the other one being like, oh, I don't know, probably not. Like I could hear this voice that like I can kind of assume from context of what they might be saying. And they're outside my door. And I was like, please don't be talking about me, please. And my doctor comes in the room and she was like, congratulations. And I was like, what? And she was like, did you not know that you were pregnant? Did you not take a home test? And I was like, no, dude, I thought I thought I was going to die. And you're here telling me that I'm pregnant. It was the craziest just experience, like for a 19-year-old who like, I was just trying to figure my own stuff out. And, you know, I was trying to get out of a really toxic relationship that I was in. So it just felt like this trap almost like it felt like I was very stuck. And like I didn't have a choice or anything like that. And it was not exciting. I was scared. I was very scared. That kind of responsibility and pressure to put on such a young person. I think if that were to happen to me now, I think I would probably handle it a lot better than I did as a literal teenager, but I hadn't even lived yet. And I had a lot of like health issues that year too. And so it was just like a lot to put on me. But I think that I've really stepped up into the role, and I think motherhood just came so naturally to me that it wasn't such a huge, scary, you know, end of the world type doom that I thought it was going to be. And, you know, it brought me to where I am today. Like that was part of my journey, but it was definitely very scary. I didn't have that like jitter, exciting, oh my gosh, like I'm going to have a baby. It was like, how am I going to have a baby? I'm still a baby. Like, and I think my whole pregnancy was just me being afraid and being worried. And I think that that kind of took away from like the magic that people say when they're pregnant of just that like amazing experience of like being a woman and growing a human. Mine was more just like there is a parasite in me and it is alien and it moves and I can feel it move. And I was like freaked out. um but yeah, okay, next question. What is the thing you are looking forward to the most this year? I kind of have two things that I'm really looking forward to. And the first one being I have been kind of on the precipice of getting to like full time as a creator. And that seems so crazy to think about because I remember, sitting here this time last year and thinking about wanting to even like make a single dollar off of social media and online. And by the end of the year, I was making, not to like disclose anything, but I was making really good money from TikTok, from not really Instagram. I think Instagram pays me like $5 a month, even if I have a viral video. They don't pay me. Instagram, do something. But the concept of that actually coming to fruition is crazy. And I told myself, like, if I could make it 6 months making money online equivalent to what I'm making at a job, I will go full time and I will put it all in there. You know what I'm saying? And I'm at the point right now where I just hit month 3 of, making a significant amount of money online, to the point where by the end of this year, it's very realistic that I could be full time. And that's really what I'm looking forward to, is not just like the freedom aspect of it, because I don't think it's like that much freedom. If you knew how much work goes into just editing one 20-second clip sometimes, like I posted a video today on my TikTok and I posted it also on my YouTube and my Instagram, forgot the app name. And it took me like 3 hours just to edit and just to like clip it right. And then you're adding text and then you're adding hashtags and making, there's a lot that goes into it, that like, it's not just, oh, I'm a creator and I get to just set my phone up and make a clip and then voila, money in my pockets. Like, this has taken a lot of effort to build a community and to stay engaged. And I've been doing Truth Telling Tuesdays for like 2 years. That takes a significant portion of my day. That is like work. I'm like working all day to do those. And, responding to emails, talking to brands. I don't have a manager yet. And so that can be really daunting. I guess I'm trying to like uphold the notion that like being a content creator can still be a real job, even though like we know that. That's why it's aspired. That's why people, try to make a YouTube channel and try to do these things and just try because it's a real thing and people have accomplished it. And for it to work for me and for it to actually happen is like a dream come true. Sorry, I don't know why everyone in TikTok is saying that my camera quality is bad, and I'm sorry. I don't think it is. Like, I can see it on my screen. Okay. Alrighty. That is one thing that I'm looking forward to. Going back to that question, the second thing that I'm looking forward to is getting out of debt. I will not lie and say that like I am in debt, and it's not something that I hide. I think I've talked about this before on my Truth Telling Tuesday. And even though I'm like making money and stuff like that, that goes towards like paying off debt and paying my bills and surviving, And I think that's the weird disconnect that I found a lot, is like, I'm like, okay, well, I'm making good money. Why don't I have anything to show for it? And a lot of it is just paying that back. And I have like a little bit of legal debt and then a little bit of credit card debt. And I've paid that down pretty like almost halfway. I think I started a couple of years ago with like 15,000 in debt, and I'm down to like 6. So it's still a lot. It kind of like looms over my head for sure. And I know that so many people are in debt, and there's times where I have to tell myself like it could be worse. I could be 100,000 in debt, and that could be way more pressure on me. And this is something that I can manage and I can pay off, and it is an attainable goal. And at the beginning of this year, I was like, okay, let's kind of readjust our budget a little bit and focus on getting rid of this. This is definitely something that's like always in the back of my mind and makes me feel like I'm failing for some reason. And I think it's a very normal thing for most people. And yeah, that's a huge goal. So being a full-time creator and then paying off my debt is like really what I'm looking forward to this year. Okay. Do. What house are you in for Hogwarts Legacy? I know you guys have been watching me play Hogwarts Legacy for the last like month. I'm in Ravenclaw, and it's I kind of tried to model my character in Hogwarts Legacy after me. Like I wanted her to look like me. I've taken the Pottermore quiz. I will admit, I can admit it. I am a huge Harry Potter nerd. Okay, and I just love those movies. You know, when I was a kid, just being wrapped up in the books and having this own like little magical story to watch over and over again or read over and over again. I definitely was one of those kids. Like I can name every movie word for word, but yeah, it's just the characters and the the scene. It just I don't know. I love that, and the game itself has been amazing. I don't know if you guys have been watching me play Hogwarts Legacy, but I'm always like looking around in the game, like just looking up at the ceiling, and I'm like, wow, this thing is so freaking cool. But okay, I'm in Ravenclaw. Let's keep going. The next question is I'm trying to grow my brand slash social media presence in my field. Any tips for growth? Since you're saying like in your field, I can tell that like you probably have a niche. And I think there's two types of trajectory when it comes to growing a following or growing like a branded presence. And there's one route that is niching down and, you know, posting about one topic over and over again. And like you think about like Hank Green, right? He posts mostly like science and that's his niche. And he is a huge creator in that way. And that was something that I never wanted to do. I'm not dissing on that at all. That's really great if you have an area of expertise and you're making like educational content and things like that. Like being known for one thing can do you well because people understand and recognize you for that. But I didn't want to be known for just one thing. I didn't want to niche down because like as a person, I feel like I'm so versatile. I feel like I'm so like I have so many different hobbies and so many different passions and so many different interests and so many different areas of expertise that like choosing one felt like putting myself in a box that I didn't want to be in. And so I think that the other trajectory that you can go down is basically like versatility. And if you're looking at growing your presence and you have like one area or field, like you were saying, that you want to post in, stick to your niche, like, and crank out the content. I think that's what it is. And like, we hear this all the time, like just post, just post, just post. But like, you can look at other creators, I'd say for inspiration of like, what are people, what is successful in the field that I'm, sorry, I hiccups, trying to work on. But since I have such a different trajectory of like my brand or my social presence or that kind of thing, I don't know how to help you in terms of like building in a niche because I don't have one. And I like choose not to have one. I post about a million different things a day, but I'm trying to think of like anything I can give you other than just like stay consistent. The thing that kind of like clicked in my head was once I started gaining a lot more followers and like building a brand for myself, I started asking people and asking like my chat when I would go live, like, hey, where did you see me? Like, what did you see me from? Like, did you ever see me before you followed me? You know, what made you follow me? That kind of thing. And they were very honest about it. And they told me basically like I had seen you for months on my For You page and I finally hit the follow button, or it was my first time seeing you and I really resonated with you. But like, the thing is, the more that you post, the more the algorithm has to share with people and you get this broader spectrum. And I went from posting one time a day to posting 3-4 times a day to sometimes posting like 5-6 times a day. And then once a month, I would post 30 plus times in one day. And I would do a whole draft dump of everything that I was scared to post, like everything that I saved in my drafts that I was like, I don't know, I'm feeling kind of nervous about this. Like maybe this is embarrassing, but I just basically was like, I have to say fuck my fear and like face it. And that's like what the goal was for my draft dump, was one, resetting my algorithm to basically train the algorithm to like spread my videos everywhere. And then at the same time, also, I guess, um, like getting over that fear of posting, of being seen, of what if this is the wrong thing? What if people don't like it? What if it flops? Like all of these different kind of things that like hold us back from just sharing and being seen and being perceived online. And I had to like tell myself every time I post, I was like, every post, every time I click post and let it upload, that's a free lottery ticket. And I realized that every single time I had a video that I was not expecting to do well at all, I was like, this is going to flop. This is going to be like maybe 200 views or something like that. And then I got millions of views. And I was like, this? What? And like, you never know what people are going to like and how it's going to work with you that day. But the more that you post and the more that you push past like this limitation, the more chances you give yourself for it to work and for people to see you and like recognize you and know what you're about. Like when people told me that, they're like, I saw you for months on my For You page and then I finally just realized I wasn't following you. That made me understand how I also consume social media. And I do the same exact thing of like, I'll see someone, I like a video, and then I'll see them a couple weeks later and I'm like, oh, this is kind of what they're about. And like, I recognize them. And then the more I see them, the more I'm like, I like this content and I'm liking their videos and stuff like that. So I'm seeing more of them. And then I'm like, why am I not following? Do you know what I'm saying? And so I think that that's how people will see it the more that you push yourself out of that limit. So I would say if you are trying to be in a niche, stick to your niche, post consistently every day, please. And if you don't post, like I do this sometimes where I don't post for like a day, maybe two, I try not to go more than 2 days without posting. I will make sure to post like 10 videos that day. Like if I missed a day, okay, cool, I'm getting more. You know what I'm saying? So I hope that that works for you. I hope that you stick to it. I think like I can understand where you're coming from of just like wanting to grow that presence and wanting to grow online, because I think that social media gets this really bad rep for disconnecting us. People are always saying like, oh, I feel more disconnected than ever, even though we're more connected than ever. And I'm like, I don't feel that way. But also because I've used my social media as a tool for myself to connect with other people. I'm not consuming, I am creating. So in the same time that, I guess I am consuming, like I have my own For You page and I still scroll and I still comment and things like that. But I have that in reciprocation. And so I don't feel disconnected. I feel like I have a community. And so I think that using social media as a tool to connect yourself, I think that's what it was. I had the goal of like, I want to be a creator overarching, but it was never like, I want to be rich, I want to be famous, I want to be popular, I want to be known. It was, I want to be a good influence and I want to have a community. That was my goal. And because of that, because I wasn't so like desperate for it and took every single stride as like, this is working and this is proof and evidence that like an audience cares about what I have to say. Then I think I started taking like more aligned action towards that. So, okay, let's move on. This is the whole point of why I'm doing long form content. I feel like I can like really just go deep into the questions a little bit more and just, yeah, like actually be a help. I'm going to take just a second before I start going into more, on my Instagram question box. I am going to go through my chat really quick. Okay. It was the digging in your butt video. Okay, that's the first time you saw me. That's a little embarrassing. There's times where I'm like, oh, I said something stupid online. But, I think that it helps people like see me as like more real. Or, I love that people think that I'm funny. I love that people like care about my sense of humor and things like that. So for people to follow me because I said something silly, like, thank you. Let's see. I don't understand what this means, but it does kind of seem like you're having an aneurysm. Do you think you need to make a new TikTok if the old one is dead, or make a new one to start fresh? This is such a good question, Corley, because like I've had the same social media since I was a teenager. Like I haven't made a new one or started fresh. I did take time to like unfollow or block people that I knew in real life, genuinely. And it wasn't, because I thought that they were so horrible. It was just my own fear of judgment that I was like, this is going to make it a little bit easier to just start posting. And I didn't do that to everyone. I got made fun of so much for posting online because, when I first started making TikToks, my TikTok name, before it was Shelb's Time, before I made it my own brand, I had an anime TikTok and I posted videos about anime and manga and basically just, it was a niche for sure. And then I started getting a lot of hate from it, but I remember proudly posting on there, knowing that everyone that I went to school with, everyone that I knew their parents were watching it, all of this stuff. And I was like, okay, I guess you can see it. But I've wrestled with this before of when do you call it? When do you make a new one? I know a lot of creators have multiple accounts, and a lot of people have asked me do you have a second account? Do you have a spam account or something like that? And I'm like, no, my my main account is my spam account. Okay. I treat it like a what's it called? Your Finsta, or a private story. That's what I treat my TikTok like. But I don't think that it will harm you. If your goal is to build something, I don't think you have to restart and make an entirely different one. If you're saying is it dead, as in is the app dead? Let's talk about it, because a lot of people have said that Instagram is dead, and I don't agree. I can kind of see what they're talking about as far as people want chronological order again, and they want, they don't want the influencers that they don't follow to be suggested to them. They just want to see what they see and not have all of this mumbo jumbo. And I was thinking back to when Instagram did not even have a DM feature. A lot of it has changed and it's grown faster, and a lot of these apps are very similar and mimicking each other because they roll out all these new features that work, and they want to hop on board. I don't think apps are dead, and I don't think your account can be dead just from it being older or it being your original account. And starting over from scratch is hard, very hard. I actually did something, although I do have the same Instagram account as I did in high school. I had this weird fear one time that I was I was just scared of perception, and then also scared of people seeing my son just weird creeps on the internet, basically. And this was before I kind of slowed down on a lot of my posts about him, as when he was a baby. And I had around 1,500 followers at the time, pretty average. And I literally removed almost all of my followers on Instagram, other than people I directly knew closely. And then I basically restarted from there. And I was like, why did I do that? That was so much harder. I think it's so much harder to get from 0 to 1,000 than it is from 1,000 to 5,000. That was a very quick trajectory for me, but it was, okay. We're going to go back to the questions on Instagram. What is the biggest lesson you learned in 2025? I think I talked about this until I was blue in the fucking face, but perfectionism is something that has run me for so long. And I don't think it's a lesson that I've learned. It's definitely not a done deal of okay, I learned that I'm a perfectionist and I worked on it and now it's over and I don't have to deal with it anymore. I genuinely think that I will deal with this until the day I die. It is something that runs how I think and my perception and how I think others are perceiving me. And perfectionism, I think, was a huge lesson for me last year of pushing past that and saying, I don't have to make it look perfect. I just have to make it exist. And that was my motto last year. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to exist. And I can make it perfect later, or I can strive for perfection later, or it can grow and change and I can learn along the way. But I just have to at least start. I think perfectionism kept me so stunted because I was just so afraid of even trying. And so that was a huge lesson for me last year. I think I went through a really hard, I don't even want to call it a breakup. It was just a separation from someone that I cared about. And I learned major lessons for that around what I should be willing to accept and what is like borderline disrespect. And, after like a lot of time and space away from that person, I realized that like my self-worth really took a hit from being around them. And I definitely was willing to accept things that I don't think I would ever accept anymore. And that is a huge lesson. Self-respect is a massive lesson to go through as a young person, because you're like, on one second you're sad and you feel lost and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't, like, why did I let this person do this to me? This hurts. And then flipping it around like 6 hours later and being like, why the fuck did they treat me like this? I'm pissed. Like, and it's just, you having to realize that, like, for me, I had to realize, I'm not saying this directed at you. I realized in my lesson that I did not stand up for myself in the way that I needed to, and I did not express my needs in the way that I needed to, and I did not walk away from something sooner than I needed to, because I'm not sure still like what kept me there other than hope. And hope isn't really like strong enough to like hold up your self-esteem and your boundaries and the things that make you feel like you're good enough and like you're valued and like you're worth something. And I think that was definitely the big lesson for me last year, is understanding my value to the world, not even just in relationships and friendships. Like, I definitely understood my value a lot more last year, and like really respected myself for showing up and walking away and having the ability to say no. And then another side of the lesson was also just like, I clung on to this like grief as soon as it happened, and not as soon as this kind of like ending happened. I didn't grieve for a really long time. I didn't feel anything for a very long time, because I have this tendency towards escapism when I'm hurting, and towards distractions and just pushing it away and avoiding it entirely and not thinking about it. And then I think it was like 6 months later, I was like, what the fuck? I was like, why does this hurt? Why does it feel like my chest is being like concave and like my heart's being ripped out, and I'm feeling like just dreadful. And I like realized, like, I was like, why am I thinking about this all of a sudden? This was so long ago. I thought I was over this. I thought it, and it was because I did not allow myself to process it or think about it, or, just go through and understand what really happened, what went wrong, how did it even start? Like, once I did grieve, I had to like go back to the beginning and be like, how did I even get in this situation? How did this even happen to me? And then understanding all the ways and all the areas in which I abandoned myself to please someone else and to make someone else feel comfortable and happy and safe. And in the end, neither of us were. And that was a huge lesson, but I did not grieve it for a long time. And so it took me a long time to even like register the lesson as a lesson. And in the time that I did go through this grief, I was like, you feel lost. You feel like hurt. You feel like, did I make a mistake? Did I do the wrong thing? And then having to understand, like, no, I absolutely did the right thing. And that I grieved for a little bit. And then I was just like, I don't have to carry this grief. Like, it did end a long time ago, and it's okay. Like, I, was there for someone when they needed someone, and I don't have to feel regret for that. I don't have to sit here and be upset about the way that they treated me. I can literally just like, what is it? What's the saying of like, I forgot completely, but it's like letting someone go with love, of just like, you have your life and I have my life, and I don't take back any sort of love that I gave you in any form. And I just wish you well, and I was able to do that and just finally process it and let it go and register all the lessons. I can't like think of all of them that came to mind, but I think that like while I was processing that, I feel like I was learning so many lessons about other people and about myself. And yeah. Anyway, let's keep going. Sorry, I'm taking a break to read the Twitch chat really quick. It says, why do I have the little first badge by my name? That would be because you're the first. All right. What is the hardest thing you ever had to quit? I've been making videos about this for the last few months, but quitting nicotine was actually the hardest thing that I've done. And I don't think because so much of the physical symptoms, of course you go through it and you're going to have a bitching headache for a week and you're going to feel sick to your stomach or whatever. You hear all these things. I definitely was researching as much as I possibly could going into this of, I need to know what's about to happen to me and prepare for all of this. And that's all that I saw was okay, here's the physical symptoms. I was unprepared for the emotional symptoms of this is my comfort object. And also the battle with myself of why am I like this? Why am I thinking like this? Why do I feel like I am going to die without it right now? Why do I feel like it's the most dire thing in the world right now? This is a tiny little box. This is a tiny little electric box with juice. And I do not need to be controlled by this box of I will panic without it or anything like that. That was so difficult to combat. And I would have these evil thoughts in my mind of you could just do it. It wouldn't really hurt that bad. You could just go to the store and get one. Just these evil thoughts trying to get me to do evil things. And I just it was such a weird conversation to have with myself of why am I thinking like this? Oh my God, who am I? I'm a monster. And I guess just that was so difficult to release the emotional attachment to it, to understand. I did not realize how much I was reaching for it and how much I was using it until I did not have it. And then I was like, what? Oh my God, what am I supposed to, what do I do with my hands? What do I do with my hands right now? Or it would be feeling stressed or going through, if the rest of my day was super stressful, the first thing I want is a hit. And it's so counterintuitive to think that something that spikes your adrenaline and releases this kind of stress inducing chemical in your brain is supposed to make you feel less stressed. It just, it's dumb when I actually think about it. But I realized how much I was dependent on this stupid device to regulate me. And I didn't ever think that I would start. I used to talk down on people who vape. I used to judge it hard. I definitely did. And then I started and then I was I'm just as bad. And I had this overwhelming shame and embarrassment constantly about it too. And it's just a trap that so many people fall in. So many people have done this. So many people have quit. And that's what kept me going is there are so many people who have quit successfully. So it is achievable. And if anyone is going to achieve it, it is going to be me. That's how I thought about it. I was I'm already this far. I'm not giving up now. Are you kidding? I'm not a weak bitch. I was so mean to myself. I was so strict when I finally quit because I was I had tried to quit a couple of times. I didn't even last a day. And it was just the way that I went around it. And I have an entire YouTube video on this on my page of how I did quit. I don't want to go so far into it, but that was definitely the hardest thing because I did not realize how ingrained this addiction was. I thought that I wasn't addicted. I had it in my mind. I was I'm in control of this and whatever. And then I quit and I was oh my God, I have an actual addiction. And this messed with me psychologically and messed with me. I think the first day that I had quit, I could not stop crying. I cried nonstop. I think for 8 to 10 hours that day, I was just crying. And even when I was just sitting here, I'm not sobbing, heaving, crying, just tears streaming down my face. All of a sudden I'm flooded with emotions that I hadn't felt since I started. And I didn't realize how numb I was to it. And that's what it is used for. It's so numbing. You take a couple shots and you take have a couple rips off a vape and you're just numb. Nothing can hurt you. And I think that's the ride or the wave that I was riding for a long time. And I think it was about that time that I started going through this whole grief process that I just talked about was from the time that, it's acute injury, from the time of loss, from the time of separation from someone, I didn't want to feel a single thing. And I did everything in my power to not. I kept myself busier than I've ever been in my life. I distracted myself constantly. I was always with someone and I just didn't want to think about it or feel any of that. And then once I decided to quit, all of those emotions caught up to me, everything that I had been avoiding. And it was kind of just this compound suppression that leaded to implosion. And I just had to feel for weeks. Yeah, I had not experienced the full range of human emotion in so long. Anyway, let's move on to the next question really quickly. Okay. How do you feel about the holidays, particularly Christmas? Let's talk about it. We just had Christmas and it was like the whole holiday season and whatnot. But I don't like to buy into the, what's the best word for this, clusterfuck of what Christmas has become. And not to like totally reference the Grinch right now, but Christmas is not bought in a store. And I cannot be convinced or tricked into falling into consumerism so much that I feel like I need to go to Target and drop $300 every single year on new Christmas decorations to keep up with what's new and what's popular and throw out my old ones because, oh, that's so last season. Blah, blah, blah. Oh my God. I made all of my decorations this year for Christmas, aside from what I have already had, which I got at a thrift store in like 2021, I think. And I've collected little bits here and there, but yeah, I don't like the whole, like, you have to have the nicest things to keep up with everyone. And you have to buy people the nicest things you can and as many things as you can. And Christmas just isn't the same without gifts. To me, I think that I lean more towards celebrating Yule, and I definitely celebrate the winter solstice, but Yule as a tradition was kind of taken over by like the Christian holiday or even just by like Christmas itself, and kind of like blended into one. But it's more just a holiday where you gather with people you love and you celebrate with food and drink and you feast and you be merry and drunk and you can share gifts that you make. And, you know, to me, that's a lot more traditional, I'd say. I don't know. I don't like what Christmas has become. I don't like the whole Santa and the reindeer and whatever. And even though I am a mom, like it killed me to like go another year doing Santa. Because I feel like I'm deceiving my son. I feel like I'm lying to him. He had like a full mental breakdown Christmas Eve because he was like, well, what if I wake up in the bathroom or what if I wake up in the middle of the night and I need to go to the bathroom? And what if I wake up and Santa sees me and then he doesn't give me presents? Like he was panicking. And I was like, that's not going to happen, baby. That's not going to happen. He was like, how do you know? And I'm like, because it's not going to happen. I felt like such an asshole. I was like, here I am lying to my son. I don't like this. And for him to even like be scared of Santa or any of this stuff. And I understand the original thing was like, okay, be good all year so Santa will bring you presents. But it's like, it just seems like this like manipulative force that you're using to like gaslight kids all year long. Oh, Santa saw that, bitch. Just, I don't know, to avoid like confrontation with their own kids. I'm not a huge fan of, what Christmas has become, but I do love the original Christmas tradition. Gathering, celebrating, just being thankful that you're alive and you can survive the winter. Like that's what the holiday was for. And I won't even go into like the Christian Christmas version of the holiday. Actually, I could. This is my time. You're on my page, actually. And I'm going to ruffle some feathers when I say this, but I do have a background in theology to substantiate this. But Jesus' birthday was not Christmas. It was not in December. Just with like archaeological and like historic findings, he was born in September. And the reason that it is celebrated in December was because Christians tried to eradicate pagan traditions and pagan holidays. So they just took over Yule. Anyway, let us continue with the questions. Okay. What song is stuck in your head today? What is it today? I don't even think I have music playing in my ears right now, so it's hard to like think of a song when you're already listening to one, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if I had one in my head today, but I definitely had Headlock by Imogen Heap in my head yesterday, and then the day before that, it was thebomb.com from Sleeping with Sirens. And anytime I wasn't actually listening to music, I've just been like walking around, just like humming, and it's just stuck in my head. I don't know. Okay, I'm going to take just a second and catch up on the chat a little bit. I apologize for not doing this as I'm going. I get in a tangent. Alrighty. You got to remember all the stuff with Twitch again. I'm just learning it. So you and we're going through the same learning curve, Parker. All right. Same here, though. I normally don't use Twitch because of the ads. I'm trying again. The ads, I'm sorry. I joined the affiliate program so that people could sub, but ads are just something like I cannot, I mean, I can control. I think I control how often, but I turned mine way down. I was like, you do not need to watch 5 minutes of ads every 30 minutes that I'm on here. But it can be like a deterrent for sure. I hate going on YouTube and paying for ads. And the fact that like I used to have an Amazon Prime account so that I could watch shows and movies. And now I have to watch ads on Amazon Prime, the video subscription service. Hey, thanks for the gift. But this video subscription service that is just like Netflix. We don't have ads on Netflix. You ain't got ads on HBO. You ain't got ads on Disney to watch your show or in the middle of your show. Why do we have ads break? Why are you making me pay extra for no ads when I already pay for the service itself? You greedy assholes. Anyway. Amazon Prime just never work with shelves die. They just checked it off. Okay. Let us keep going. Have you traveled out of the USA? I have. Last year, I went to Europe. My brother got married in Germany, and we were like traveling around like other countries next to it. And I think Belgium was like my absolute favorite. You didn't ask me for my favorite. You just asked me if I went. Yes, I did. And Belgium was my favorite. I think partly because it was so English friendly. I was in Germany, and a lot of these people were like, and I'm like, in English. And I just felt like it was a communication barrier for sure. But in Belgium, I didn't have that much of an issue. So many people spoke English. And although people do in Germany, you know, me going into a local, like, what were they called? Like kebabs, like store to go get some food. And the person that's working there is like 80 years old and doesn't know English. Like, what do I do? And then, oh, I just saw this. Hi, Gabby. Good night. All right. What was I saying? I loved Belgium so much, and it was gorgeous. And I went in the spring, and there were daffodils everywhere. And yeah, I just felt like such a tourist. All right, let's keep going. Favorite memory ever. What is my favorite memory ever? You know what? I actually do have one because I think about it before I go to bed a lot. Hold on. I need something to drink. Okay. Let me set the scene for you. It's late summer. I think maybe August. And it's evening, right? The sun hasn't set. It's still pretty bright, but it's like fully out. It's not dipping behind the horizon yet. And I'm working at this summer camp, like in the woods, right? There's freaking pine trees everywhere. And a lake and just beautiful scenery and whatever. And my coworkers and I just went for a drive out in this cornfield in Nebraska. And we're in the middle of Nebraska. And just, I can't even remember what the song was that was on the radio, but we were all singing it, like top of our lungs singing it. And the car that we were in had a sunroof, and it was like kind of like a Jeep-ish type, like SUV type. And I put my knees up on the middle console, and like half my body is hanging out of this car. Do not do this at home ever. Disclaimer. Okay. And just arms out. I feel like I'm living in a movie. It was just so like, it was such a euphoric experience to have that. And I was just like, I'm young and free. But like, I think about that scene of my life, that not scene. Oh my God. Now, am I real? let's have an existential crisis together. I think about that memory a lot when I'm going to bed. It was so peaceful at the same time as it was like exhilarating. And being out on the dirt road going like 60 and halfway out of car, really scary. But like it just, I don't know. I love that memory so much, and I think I go back to it all the time just because it is such a cool thing. Okay. This says Twitch stream when. So, hey, buddy, right now. When are you gonna get your eyebrow pierced? I want to do it so bad. And like, believe me when I tell you that I went to like 3 different piercing places last week. Not okay, 2 weekends ago? I don't know. I was just like walking around downtown in Colorado, and every like piercing place I went to, I was like, so how much for an eyebrow piercing for real? And kind of got an idea of like what it would cost me and like what the healing process is like and what I want it to look like. But I constantly keep like gluing, I don't have them on right now, but I constantly keep gluing these rhinestones right here just to kind of like test it out, just to like play around with it, see if I like it, see if it'll stick around and like I'll still like it in like a couple weeks. But I have consistently been doing it and I think it looks so cute. And I want to do it so bad. Okay. Dream guest on your podcast. I guess I have 2. One of them, what happened to my focus? One of them being Megan Fox. Just because I want to pick her brain so bad on astrology and just metaphysical theory. She talks like that on interviews and stuff like that. And I'm like, bro, I want to hear more. And all the comments are like, oh, what happened to Megan Fox? She got so weird. And I'm like, I like what she's saying. And then because I also have a background in like astrology and metaphysical theory, I definitely have taken a peek at her natal chart and I was like, it's very compatible with mine. Maybe we would be friends. But definitely dream guest. I just want to pick her brain and like talk to her about her life. She seems so interesting to me. Another one is the podcast queen herself, Brittany Broski. I feel like the banter between us would be ridiculous and you would have to shut it down. You would have to turn the lights off and it would be quiet time. It would be nap time regulated by whoever is recording the podcast and the, the crew in there. But it would get to a point where it was like, okay, that's enough. Okay, now it's time to settle down. And that's why I want her on. I feel like we have very similar personalities, like very similar ways of speaking and talking and communicating. And although she is uber mega successful, I need to get inside her head and get to know how that works. Okay, let us continue. The next question is, what is the first thing you look at when meeting a new person? For me, it's teeth. The way my mouth squeaked. That was crazy. I think it's hair. I think the first thing that I notice is people's hair, for sure. I think I go like top down of like, I'll notice your hair and then I'm going to notice your eyes and then I'll notice your mouth. I think it's hair. You can tell so much about a person by just their hairstyle or like how well their hair is. Like for me, you can tell that I don't give a fuck and that my hair was in braids when I went to sleep last night because I didn't have time for it to dry before I went to bed. That's what you can tell. But I think it just like gives someone a lot more character if they have a significant haircut. Or you can tell when people are just trying to blend in or be like everyone else or follow trends or things like that, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like that's what's cool about society. But I definitely notice hair and then I notice eyes. And then, yeah, I think teeth are kind of last for me as far as like the face. But very significant portion. Yes. I saw you live in Colorado and was wondering what's the secret to make friends here. Hey, plot twist. I don't live in Colorado. Actually, I live in Wyoming, which is worse. Sorry. Was I loud? Anyway, aside from me not living in Colorado, I can actually kind of help you here with the friends portion. And as much as I do have an advantage for being a very extroverted person, it's very easy for me to go up and talk to people and speak to people I don't know and start conversations. I don't have social anxiety. Social anxiety is afraid of me. And I have always been that way pretty much. And my mom is a huge extrovert. I think that's why is I was just kind of raised to be that way. Even though I don't know if that really affects her personality, if someone in your family has the same kind of personality. I don't know. Maybe we need to ask some like Myers-Briggs bro. But when it comes to making friends, this sounds a little redundant and too easy, but like you have to put yourself out there. You cannot expect friends to come to you. So anytime that I've made friends, like I moved to Wyoming 3 years ago. I didn't always live here. I didn't grow up here. I knew no one when I moved here. I was very isolated. And then I was like, okay, well, this is in my control. And anytime I saw someone at the gym that I, thought seemed cool, or they had cool style, or I, just, you can kind of vibe. You can tell if you would be friends with someone. I would ask them for their Instagram. I would ask them for their number. I'd be like, oh my gosh, like let's like lift sometime. And that worked for me. I like made friends that way. And in classes, I would get people's information. I would, if there were people that I would strike up a conversation with and it was like consistent, it was like, you're so cool. I'd love to send you this thing later. Like, let me get your info. You have to like put yourself in that position. I've made friends at work, like not my coworkers. Like I used to be in the service industry. I was a server for a long time and a bartender for a long time. And one time I was serving this table, I just overheard this girl talking about astrology. And I was like, I like you. We should be friends. And I got her Instagram and became friends. And we've like hung out a few times. And so like, it just takes being brave and courageous and putting yourself out there in like a way that, you could feel like you're not good enough, especially with friendship rejection and making friends, not having people reciprocate the same like level of excitement about your friendship can feel like rejection, can feel like it doesn't feel good for sure. But I experience that too. I think everyone does, but the risk is so much higher than the reward, and taking a risk sometimes pays off. So I would say join classes around you. I took art classes. I took like self-defense classes. I took, what other classes did I take? Yeah, pretty much those classes. Oh, yoga classes, fitness classes. Take classes. Put yourself in your community locally, and you'll be surprised like how many people are around you that are similar to you and willing to be your friend. Like, not that it's like, like, okay, I guess you drag me into it. Like, you know what I'm saying. But it won't happen if you stay inside your house. It won't happen online. It's hard for people to make friends just online. There's only so much, you can read into tone and whatnot. But I mean, I've done it. I've definitely made friends online. But yeah, meeting friends in real life, in person, having people around you to make you feel like you're a part of something, very important. Okay. What is your go-to genre in music? I don't have one, and I cannot choose one, and you cannot make me. You will have to drag me out by my hands and feet to make me choose a genre. Girl, chill. I just cannot choose one. There is one that I do not listen to really at all, maybe. And I want to preface this by saying I like bluegrass music, but I do not like country music, and that is a genre that I do not listen to anymore because, country music has changed so much that I can no longer relate to the themes in this art. It is not my taste in art, I will say. And it's not because of the sound of the music. I love the sound of a band. I love the sound of a guitar. It's basically just how popular country music, and I don't dive deep into unknown artists and things like that. Popular country music is just promoting a life I cannot relate to. And that kind of stinks. That kind of sucks. Growing up in the Midwest, growing up in these like farming, ranching communities for so long, I want to be able to relate. I understand what the life like entails, but even if I understand, Sorry, I entered my what would you call that? Villager? Anyway, we're gonna keep going before I get all tapped out because I've been doing this for a hot minute. What is your favorite movie? I always say Shrek 2. I don't know if you guys know this. Hold on, I'm gonna actually expose the crap out of myself right now. But my background for my computer. Oh, you can't see. Hold up. Okay. The background for my computer is actually just, yeah, that'd be Shrek in a pond, looking very promiscuous, looking very caught off guard. Yeah, I love Shrek. I love the Shrek movies. I think they're so funny. Where did this go? I've lost it entirely. So that's kind of like my go-to when people say like, oh, what's your favorite movie? But I also do love, as far as like my favorite films or like my favorite director would be Wes Anderson. I love the color grading. I love the storytelling. I love how I'm smiling the entire time I'm watching any movie. Like I'm just like grinning ear to ear because the storytelling is so like whimsical and so, oh, it's just so good. It gets me every time. And that's, I think, like what, I don't know. I think that Wes Anderson in a way like makes theater. Do you know what I'm saying? Does it make sense? Maybe I'm stupid for saying that. I don't know. And aside from like favorite movie, favorite director, I would say my favorite like film, like series is tied between Harry Potter and the Sherlock Holmes because they make me feel something. Okay. Because there's nothing that watching those movies cannot fix. Do you know what I'm saying? Oh, we're gonna keep going. Speaking of movies, this is Celebrity Crush, and my celebrity crushes are definitely actors. There's 3, maybe 4 that I just like admire because it's not even just like the physical attraction to them. It's they portrayed a story so well that I felt like I was in it. I was there. I felt what they felt. And like they didn't even feel that they were acting. Like it was pretend. But like at the same time, they make it so real. And like it's Logan Lerman and Timothée Chalamet and Miles Teller. And not just like how they make me feel something, the range for all of them to be able to play these different types of characters and do it well. And, you know, they can go from this like serious like role to this like silly role and no time in between. They could be filming both at the same time and like just be able to do it. And you wouldn't question it and it doesn't feel forced. And so I definitely admire them for that. And those are definitely my celebrity crushes. Let us keep going. Oh my God. There's so many. There's so many questions. I'm trying my best, okay? Well, hold on. Let me answer some chat questions. Just give me a second. Okay. Do you feel like you became more yourself over time, or did you unlearn versions of yourself first? What? Okay, let me dissect this really quickly because what I'm seeing is like I definitely think I became myself over time in the process of unlearning versions of myself, because the versions of myself that I unlearned was just masking who I really was and trying to fit in with everyone else and trying so hard to be liked. Like when I was just a teenager, that was even just a young kid too, like elementary school, middle school, I just wanted to fit in. I just wanted to have friends. I just wanted to, you know, not push anybody away. And the harder that I tried as a kid, the more it just like pushed people away, you know? And I just kind of learned to close myself off a little bit and be very defensive and like blame. I don't even think it was because of that, just as some sort of defense mechanism to protect myself from feeling uncomfortable or feeling embarrassed or feeling ashamed or feeling like I'm in the wrong. To avoid those uncomfortable emotions, I just like became a victim. And I, for a long time, lived as someone who just like blame everyone else for what was going on in their life. And then I just had this moment of like radical self accountability and realized that I needed to do better. And yeah, I think that's what I really unlearned. But in doing so, I also had to like accept that the parts of me that I thought were too big or too loud or too much or too cringe or embarrassing, that's what makes me. And had to realize like it really does not matter if someone else finds that weird or off-putting, because there's always more people who will relate. And I've found that out a lot through social media and posting, just my personality or, doing the things that I love to do as a kid, thinking that they were embarrassing or cringe or that made me like set apart or weird, and doing them as an adult and being like, this is who I've always been. I've never felt more myself. And I think that that was unlearning the things that kept me stuck and frozen, and joined into the crowd, like took away my individuality. And then also accepting the things that I do like. It's not bad that I like them. I'm not weird and crazy for liking puzzles. So many people do, and like I just pretended to be someone I wasn't for a very long time, and accepting what I like and who I am and how I talk and how I show up and that kind of thing. That's like the best thing I could do for myself. Let's continue. Next question. Okay. I have to scroll through the ones that are like, marry me, please. What is something you used to believe in but no longer do? I think that I've talked about this on my Truth Telling Tuesday a lot before, that I don't believe in like organized religion anymore. And it was just because I just kind of dove to the bottom of it, and I got on the other side and I was like, uh-oh, was I manipulated? Uh-oh. And I like grew up very, very like strictly Christian, strictly religious. And then I went to a Christian college, and I went to this program that just teaches you, these were Christian theology professors teaching me this. And I was like, what? Is this just going over all of our heads right now? Like, is this? And I understood that like the religion part of it, where you're expected to fund these churches who have ulterior motives, or just pay for your salvation and scare people into joining and things like that. That just really turned me off, and it made me just not want to be a part of it altogether. And that is something, yeah, I definitely used to believe in those topics. I know that this is controversial and people will always disagree with me. I just don't believe in like the social constructs of like sin and heaven and hell, and those things don't exist to me anymore, because I understand that like those are kind of made by men and not by anyone else. Okay. I'm just reading through. There's still a lot that I probably won't get to. I'm sorry. Some of these are actually super funny. This says, tell the truth, you're a VTuber created by a South Korean IT engineer. What? Okay. Favorite quality about yourself? I think I love myself. I really do. I love so many qualities about myself, but I think the number one thing is my optimism. I would so much rather choose to be hopeful and choose to look on the bright side than to wallow in pessimism and nihilism and like let it swallow me whole. And I think that kind of sets me apart from so many people, because like it's very easy to get stuck in those. I will admit, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I haven't ever been, pessimistic, but I think that yeah, it's not as common. It's so easy to fall into that, negative thinking, nothing's going to work out, and anxiety and all these things. But like on the flip side, it feels pretty good to just like gaslight yourself into thinking that things will work out until they do. It's way easier, way less suffering. All right, let us continue. Do you believe in 50-50 relationships? In what aspect? Because I think that there's like different parts to a relationship. So like if you're speaking financially in contribution, like because there's a pay difference, and unless I had like a crazy advanced job over my partner, like he's probably going to be making more than me. And so like I will not be able to contribute the same amount that he will be able to contribute. But at the same time, what my 50% is still my 50%. Like I'm giving what I can. And then also like, in a way that 50-50 is different from like traditional roles where, there's this concept of the man is the breadwinner and he brings home the money, and the woman stays home and cranks out babies and watches the kids and cleans the house and cooks the meals. And I don't really believe in that, because that's not realistic in our time anymore, because it's difficult to live on just one income, like, and support all of that life. You know what I'm saying? Like when that traditional role was in place, childcare wasn't $1,300 per child. Right. Okay. And so having a dual income, like, I feel like that's so normal now. Like that's kind of the new normal. And, as far as when you don't have those gender roles, then the responsibilities kind of get split evenly. And I think that they should be evenly. Like I shouldn't have to do every single thing around the house and work and do this and, please you and all of these things. It's give and take, and it's equal, because no party should like feel left out in a relationship or feeling like they're giving more than what they're getting. I think that like feeling appreciated, as well as like someone else contributing and being an active partner is just as important to have someone that's engaged with you and like cares about your day and anything like that. I don't think it should be one person carrying emotional weight or physical weight or responsibility weight or sexual weight or anything like that. Like it's just, yeah, I think it should be 50-50. Here, let me rephrase that. I think it should be 100-100. But on the topic of that, I want to say that like I saw a video about this recently. Since we're talking about relationships, I saw this video recently where this girl was getting backlash because she was like, oh, well, someone had said you're not his number one priority. And she made the video that was like, that's the way I like it. Like, I think that relationships should not be therapy for you. I think that should be separate, because that can ruin relationships. And although communicating how you feel is an integral part of that, putting the emotional labor on someone to fix this for you and to constantly regulate you and make you their number one priority, and, there's no space, there's no autonomy, you're no longer in this like relationship, you're in like a codependent state with someone, that seems like hell on earth, actually, to me. And I think that is something that should be more normalized, is like people having autonomy in a relationship. I know so many young people just start to lose themselves in their early relationships because they're so afraid of losing someone, or they have deep-seated insecurities in their relationship, or, that maybe they're not that confident in themselves, or they don't have like a lot of direction in life. And they use their partner basically as a scapegoat to like attach onto and say, this is my life purpose now. This is my life. This person's hobbies are now my hobbies. And this person does this. And so I do this. And they're the only person I can talk about, and things like that. you lose yourself as a person because you no longer know what drives you. You no longer know what you like to do and who you like to hang out with and where you like to go. And it just, I don't want to be someone's number one priority. I want their life and their happiness to be their number one priority. And if I'm a part of that, wonderful. If I'm no longer a part of that, that's their journey. I go on my journey. But it's like this, I don't know. It just makes me like sick when these girls are like, oh, well, he didn't do this, so he's a bad partner. Or he didn't like get off his video game and do this with me, and so he's a bad partner. And I'm like, he also has his own life. He's doing his hobbies. He's doing the things that he likes. Can you imagine if you were doing your makeup in the morning and he got pissed off at you because you had your time doing this? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's, maybe I'm targeting this towards women, but it also can be targeted towards men, where men latch so hard onto another woman and basically like she becomes his entire life, and he loses friends and family members and jobs and whatever because he will do anything to sustain this relationship over his own life. I have seen it happen firsthand. I know men who have gone through this. I've been friends with men who are in relationships like this, and it's like, it's sad to see on either side. It doesn't matter, men or women. I don't think that your partner should be your number one priority. Number two, yeah. Anyway, thoughts on unrequited love. That's a difficult question, bro. I think it happens to everyone. I don't know a single person who hasn't like fallen for someone who did not feel the same way about them. And unrequited love is just one of those like beautiful tragedies of life where, because it's a shared experience, because we've all been there, we can all relate and it unites us kind of, and we can, you know, feel empathy for one another for going through it. But at the same time, it fucking hurts, bro. It fucking hurts so bad. It is the ultimate form of rejection. It's the ultimate form of abandonment, of longing and yearning and feeling desperation. Because where are you supposed to put all of these emotions? Where are you supposed to put all of this love if it is not accepted? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's yes, it's so beautifully tragic, and it's also one of the worst fucking things ever. Yeah, we can all agree on that. I'm not going to try and spin this into the most beautiful thing. It is one of the most painful things you'll go through, because it's like, am I wrong for this? Am I too much for this? What's wrong with me? It tears at your sense of like self. It tears at your self-worth, your self-respect, your self-esteem, all of it. Your core belief systems about who you think you are, it touches so deep on that. Because you're like, if maybe I wasn't so, you know, maybe I wasn't just so much, and maybe I wasn't so overbearing, if maybe I, you know, didn't show it so much or scare them or freak them out, people are going to feel how they feel no matter what. You're not always going to be a match with someone. That's what I've learned. And so, you know, when it does happen, it's like, this is for some sort of reason, and I can find comfort in that, and I'm going to choose to gaslight myself to believe that, and it's for some reason. But like, I wish I had words. I feel like I'm stuttering. I'm struggling to articulate. Let me just okay. Basically, all I have to say about it is grin and bear it, and understand that like, you had the most human experience possible. If you've been through unrequited love, cool. You made it into the majority group. Way to go. I've definitely been through that, and it freaking sucks, bro. And all I can say is, in my experience, all I can talk about is my experience with it and my perception. And like, in my perception, I genuinely felt worthless. Like, this one experience, this one person is rejecting me. And so in my mind, I was like, this feels like everyone is rejecting me. and that something is intrinsically wrong with me that I cannot change. And I start to fall into these like really toxic ways of thinking that like it's my fault. It's nobody's fault. It's nobody's fault. Everyone has their own like criteria of traits and values that they love in someone else. And if mine don't align perfectly with someone, that's not my fault. It's not their fault. It's just not right. And yeah, oh my God. It doesn't hurt anymore. I'm just remembering how bad it did hurt and how I felt like I was suffering because of it. Because I was like, how do I prove myself? Instead of just understanding that like my like yearning and my just like clinging to something that wasn't right was just immature of me to do. And then I was like, okay, I gotta grow up. Anyway, canon event, you gotta go through it. Sorry, it's written in the book. Honestly, I just realized that I've been going at it for like an hour and a half right now, and I gotta chill. Because the point of this was for my questions to not go so long. I still have a lot. I'm gonna do a few more. It's only like 8:24. I got like 6 minutes, all right? Okay. Where was I don't know if you've talked about this before, but I'm curious why you say loving instead of love. Ooh, I don't know. I think because saying like loving you is a lot easier. It takes some of the weight off of it. Like saying like love you or I love you, that's like such a, I don't know, it feels so serious. And I'm super unserious online. And so I think that's kind of why it's like my sign off is I'm always like loving you, bye. Like it just, I don't know, feels like I'm like sending my kid off to kindergarten again. But yeah, I think it's just because it doesn't feel so serious. It's not so heavy. It's not so like, I had a hard time like saying I love you to my friends for a very long time. And now I do say it. And sometimes I still catch myself being like loving you, but it's just because it's easier to say. It doesn't hold as much weight to me, at least when I say it. And it's a cute little sign off. Okay. Whoa, hold on. This just says, happy early birthday 3 months away. Chris, who are you and what are you doing here? Don't scare me like that. How do you know when my birthday is? How do you know? Also, I was just talking about that with my son. We were talking about April and we were like counting down days till April. And I was like, holy, that's 70 days away. I don't want to be 28 years old. I don't want to be 28 years old. Please, God, please, no. Anyway, I'm like really excited for my birthday and I hope that like I have a cake and I celebrate with my friends. Okay. This last one is just people are asking me on a date. The answer is no. I'm taken. Anyway, that's gonna do it for me, gang. I'm gonna wrap this puppy up like a pig in a blanket. I'm so thankful that you guys have been here and joined me for Truth Telling Tuesday. This is gonna be a little bit clunky, I think, switching my format from Instagram to Twitch and YouTube, but I'm hoping that this does work and gives people a little bit more of an opportunity to like, you know, ask a little deeper questions and get a full response and answer, and then also have something to do if they're so bored and they just miss my face. But with that, let's see here, me figuring out how this works. Oh, yes, that worked. Okay. With that, I bid you adieu. Loving you. This will be up on my Twitch for a week, and then it should be up in a few days on my YouTube channel. I'm probably not going to edit it. I'm going to let it go raw. All right. And we're going to deal with it. But loving you. Have the best rest of your day.